Next speaker is Carolyn Barnes, B-Y-R-N-E-S, followed by Kathy Ryan. Again, 3 minutes, please.
Superintendent and President Oakley, thank you very much for allowing me the opportunity to speak. President Kellogg, the same. Well, Elizabeth stole a little bit of my thunder. I know very little about this board. However, I had the opportunity to meet my district representative. I live in District 3, Sunny Zia, when she was campaigning. She wasn't campaigning for my party, but what she had to say changed my mind. So I voted for it. At the time, I had no idea what this board did. I learned that you're responsible for the monies that are spent here at the college. I was very glad that I voted for an auditor. I think that was the right choice. It was very enlightening to find out that every month, these $25,000 budget items have been approved or rubber stamped. It was interesting to find out, though, that there was some pushback, especially from Member Zia and I believe Member Baxter on one occasion, and an abstention of voting due to a lack of knowledge of what these these purchase orders consisted of. So I won't elaborate any further on what Liz Thomas had to say. However, I will commend you, Mr. Oakley, for bringing forward a long-discussed program to put this online so that the public and the board will have access to the list of the items that fall into this less than $25,000 category. I think it will be very helpful when they go to vote in the future. It's my understanding that as a stopgap measure, that it has been decided that the lists would be distributed prior to your closed-door meetings and prior to this meeting. However, I looked for it on the internet and did not find it this month. I don't know what happened. I hope that this program towards transparency does not stumble. I think that it's incredibly necessary for our students
2 minutes.
to have the opportunity to attend a well-governed and well-funded institution. And I thank you, Representative Zia, for having the stamina, the persistence, and enthusiasm to push forward and bring these things to light and facilitate the spending of our money in a responsible manner. Thank you for hearing my comments.
Thank you. Last speaker, Kathy Ryan.
President Kellogg and Board of Trustees, I spoke at your last meeting in support of Sunny Zia's request for transparency for expenditures instead of an automatic pass-through. Maybe the trustees don't realize how important transparency is to the taxpayers. It is our only protection from closed-door deals and pandering to supporters. I understand the bid process only occurs at City College every 5 years, which is another issue that needs to be addressed. If the people don't know the facts, they can't judge their representatives and who they're voting for, and hold them responsible for the decisions. Ms. Zia has requested that transparency be given to expenditures and that these expenditures be explained and transparent to the people. This is the least you as the trustees can do for the taxpayers. Hopefully, full transparency will become as important to you as it is and should be to the taxpayers. College costs have accelerated tremendously, not because prudent decisions were made, but because our elected officials have not done their job. Students who work their way through college, which I'm sure there's many of them out there in the audience, are not given the opportunity to actually finish their education through either the Cal State or the UC system, because spending has gotten out of hand and costs have not been controlled. Your reluctance to be transparent with the parents, students, and taxpayers is no different than Long Beach City Hall has been with the taxpayers. For years, they rejected transparency. They fought tooth and nail against transparency. And now because our pension liability has reached over $1 billion, they have been forced to come to realization that transparency has to be given to the taxpayers. The taxpayers
2
will be
minutes.
paying off this unfunded pension liability over the next 30 years. And I understand the same thing is occurring at the UC system. And so all the increases in salaries and pensions, yes, are being blamed on the cost of education, which we know is somewhat true, but not altogether. WEU have not contained costs for kids at the city college level, and that will increase at the state level and at the UC system. And so you are either going to have students that are going to take 2 years to go to college, and believe me, I'm a recruiter. 2 years of college doesn't do it in the outside world. They need to finish and get their degree. And I think I see a lot of students being hampered in the future by the cost of education. And it is your job to curtail cost and to
3
give
minutes.
transparency to the taxpayers. Thank you.
Thank you. Next item, we're moving ahead on, we have moved this item 12.6 to the front. I will just forward, the recommendation will be that the Board of Trustees receive the 2013-14 district audit covering the Long Beach Community College District, the LBCC Auxiliary, Inc., and the associated student body, the 2013-14 Proposition 39 General Obligation Bonds Financial Audit, and the 2013-14 Proposition 39 General Obligation Bond Performance Audit. The two additional reports cover the General Obligation Bond Fund established by Measure E in 2008 as required by Prop 39. So what I'm going to ask for, at least we have, Superintendent President Oakley, should we have the report first and then we can make the motion? So at
Excuse
least
me,
we have
President
something.
Kellogg. Did you ask about which items we want to pull off the consent agenda? Because I had some items.
But I haven't got to that yet. That'll
Okay.
follow this. That'll follow this item. If we can,
I think for the sake of the meeting, if we can get a motion.
Okay, very
And
good.
then we can do the presentation, and then the board can feel free and ask questions.
so what I'm going to ask from the members of the board, if we can at least have a motion on 12.6, which is to approve the 2013-14 district and Proposition 39 General Obligation Bonds, Financial and Performance Audits. That way we can then begin the discussion on it.
So moved.
Motion by Trustee Baxter.
Second.
I'm sorry. Who's second?
I second it.
Second by Trustee Zia. Discussion. Chair recognizes Superintendent President Oakley for the introduction of our.
Yes,
Speakers.
thank you, Board President Kellogg. As this time of year approaches, it is time for Santa Claus, and it is time for the audit. So for that, I will turn it over to Vice President Gable to introduce our audit team and begin the presentation.
Thank you to President Oakley. Before I introduce the auditors, though, I want to thank both our internal auditor, Mr. Bob Raposa, as well as our fiscal services managers, Mr. John Thompson and Miss Cindy Baker, for all of their effort in working with the auditors, because it is no easy task. So with that, I will first introduce Ms. Renee Graves with the firm of Vicente Lloyd and Stutzman, who's a partner. Renee oversaw the performance audit of our bond program and the audit of that. And then also with us tonight is Ms. Heather DeCower, who was the manager on the job, and she will be going over the district financial audit report as well as the bond financial audit report. So, Renee?
Would you mind, Trevor, if we did the district audit first, only because I'm going to piggyback probably on some of the things that are in that report? Would
Problem.
that be acceptable to you? Well, thank you for having us out here today. We were engaged to perform the audits for both the district financial statements and the bond financial statements and the performance audit for the bond. The audit process includes us meeting with management and the audit committee prior to the audit, and that's so that we can go through the scope of the audit, the timing of the audit, and as well as ensuring our independence. from the organization. And at the conclusion of the audit, we meet with management, the audit committee again, to go through the audit report in detail. So I will not be going through the audit report in detail, but if you have any questions at the end of the presentation, please feel free to ask. The opinion letter follows the table of contents, and in this letter, it discloses the responsibility of management as well as the auditor's responsibilities. Management is ultimately responsible for the preparation and the presentation of the financial statements. As your auditors, we are responsible for issuing an opinion on the financial statements. And that's based on our audit, which includes us obtaining evidence that support the numbers that are in the financial statements and in the disclosures, and performing tests after consideration of the internal controls of the organization and assigning risk assessment to the various areas. We would perform those procedures. We have issued an unmodified opinion, which indicates that the financial statements are presented fairly and follow generally accepted accounting principles, and that can be found on page 2 of the opinion letter. Following the opinion letter, your financial statement basically has 7 sections to it. Following the opinion letter, you have your management discussion and analysis, and this is prepared by management. They write a comparative of the activities that have occurred for the organization from the previous year to the current year. The opinion does not cover the management discussion and analysis. However, we do perform limited steps to ensure that the discussion lines up with the financial statements. Following the management discussion and analysis are the financial statements. There's 2 sets of financial statements. The first set of statements are pages 1 through 4, and that's for the government funds. All the government funds are rolled into one column, and then there's what we refer to as GASB 34, 35 adjustments made to that, and that's to bring the financial statements to a business BPA. What is BPA? Business type activities. So they're comparable to the higher education. And a reconciliation of those adjustments can be found on page 4 of the management discussion and analysis. Following the governmental funds are the fiduciary funds, and those are pages 5 through 8, and those summarize the activity of those funds as well. The footnotes are another section to the financial statement. This helps the financial statement reader understand the policies of the organization as well as some of the significant numbers in the financial statements. The footnotes do disclose if there's any upcoming accounting standards. There were new accounting standards, I should note, for the 13-14 fiscal year, but coming soon, there will be 3 additional, which include the pension requirement for the STRS and FERS. Following the footnotes is supplemental information. This information is it's additional schedules that are required from different sources, from the Chancellor's Office, from the Federal Management, Office of Management and Budget, as well as your funding for your retiree funding policies. It's important to point out that there are no audit adjustments to the financial statements, which can be found on page 54. Also, there's some state schedules in there, and there were no audit adjustments regarding the 50% law, the workload measures, or the EPA schedules, as well as the district did comply with the 50% law requirement and spending of the EPA funds. There's a trends analysis also on page 58, and that will reflect that the reserve levels are appropriate for the organization. Following the supplemental schedules is another set of letters, and in these letters they communicate, the first one communicates internal controls over the financial statements. There were no findings regarding the financial statements and the controls in place. The federal letter refers to the major programs. On page 69, you'll find the major programs that were tested, as well as there were no findings regarding the compliance and the control over those programs. And the last letter is for state compliance, in which there is also no findings in that area. And then the last section is your prior year findings. Last year, there were 2 findings for the organization in which the district has worked hard and has implemented and resolve those two findings. Were there any questions on the financial statements?
I have a question.
Members of the board,
few.
Chair recognizes Trustee Zia.
Thank you for your presentation. I just had a few minor questions. So on page 11 of the report, can you explain a little bit what these percentages entail as far as what
Are we referring
other
to Roman
revenue?
numeral? Roman numeral
I'm
11?
sorry?
Roman numeral 11 or numeric 11?
No, well, yes. No. So the other revenue, the 2%, and the just an explanation of what those revenues entail, besides the ones that are obvious, like the state, local property, and grant. So essentially, just the other revenue. Maybe Anne Marie, you can speak to that, or our consultant.
Again, the management discussion and analysis is compiled by management, but those various sections do tie to the financial statements. So the statement of changes in revenues and expenses. If you look at those statements, you'd be able to.
Oh, I understand it ties
Okay.
out. I
Okay.
looked at that, but what is the other revenue? What is that? What does that entail?
Most likely that would be the local revenue without, having my detailed schedules in front of me.
Okay, I'll
If
skip to.
I think a more detailed explanation, I'd have to go back to my office and look and get back to you or.
No
communicate that
problem.
to
That's
Emery.
fine. The bigger question I had was on page 14. So in the paragraph where it says that we had about a change of negative 25.3% in cash flow, and it says cash provided by non-capital financing activities decreased $38.2 million due to property tax revenue and repayment of the TRAN debt without new TRAN proceeds in 2013-14. Can you elaborate on what you mean by that statement? I'm
Okay.
not quite sure I understand.
Again, management's discussion and analysis, but I'm familiar with the situation. The district has obtained a tax anticipation revenue note, and with the chancellor's office having delays in funding, it's common for districts to go out and obtain these notes for cash flow purposes. So I believe for 3 years, the district has obtained this type of note, and this during 13-14, they did not utilize that. That was no longer necessary as the state with their payments.
Okay, great. And then the two, this is page Roman numeral 74, the original finding 1202, with the disabled student programs and services. The recommendation that you had was to implement procedures to ensure student progress towards goals is updated. So you did a follow-up, and it was, what was implemented? The procedures, or was there certain outcomes that you tested for? Can you
Right.
elaborate a little bit on that?
So there's several state compliance areas that we cover in the audit, and the letter on state compliance outlines those various steps. So with the SPS, there is a specific step to ensure that the district is developing a plan with the student is signing and agreeing to that plan, and then they're following up and making sure the student is benefiting from that plan. In the previous year, when that area was tested, there was turnover in the department, and that step was not clearly documented. So going back a year later, repeating that audit step, there was no issues identified.
Issues as to was
Non-compliant.
properly documented this time
Right,
around? Okay.
non-compliance, there was no non-compliance noted.
Okay, that's what you mean by implemented. That's great to know. And then lastly, on page 76, I'm not quite sure I understand this finding that you had 1101, if you can elaborate on that, to be arranged hours, and your recommendation, which was such courses should be reported as positive attendance courses. In addition, the district should review all courses labeled as TBA and revise the course designation as appropriate. So if you could elaborate on the
Sure.
finding, and then
If you
also
read it and
if
it-
you could please indicate where were you expecting this revision be made as you're recommending in your audit finding?
Okay, so if you read through and you're like, wow, this sounds really confusing, it is a very complicated compliance area. The Chancellor's Office has included it in the contracted district audit manual, and to be arranged hours, sometimes in the college, community college arena, gets used generically, photocopy, Xerox copy. To be arranged hours last year consisted of a lot of courses that were actually lab courses or courses that started after the census date. There's several different compliance areas that need to be met to be identified as a to be arranged type course, and the individuals responsible for this area have been working and making sure that those classes that are identified as to be arranged meet those definitions. So it was not, there was no non-compliance identified this year.
So when you say that we implemented the recommendation to revise the course designation, where did you notice that it was implemented?
Okay, we obtain a list of all the classes that are considered to be arranged courses, and we test them to make sure they meet that definition.
I see, okay,
So
great.
from the query provided.
I
by the
got you,
district.
great, thank you. That's all I had.
Sure. Thank you.
Other members of the board, we have another part of the presentation, though, correct, Vice President Gable?
Yes, we actually have 2 more audit reports to present.
Okay, so I'm going to hand it over to Renee to go over.
All right, thank you.
Okay, we're kind of starting from the top up, if you will. Heather went through the entire district audit, so that includes all the funds of the district, as well as the revenue construction bond, and the related debt to that is all in the footnotes that Heather reviewed, as well as the fixed assets that are being constructed with those bond revenues. That's kind of why we wanted to do the district audit first. So if we peel back the onion and get into the layers of it, we're kind of drilling down and we're doing a more specific audit related to the revenue construction bond itself. So in front of you, you should have 2 documents. They're very similar in size, so it's a little bit difficult to differentiate them. But one is the financial audit and the second one is the performance audit. And if it's okay with you, I'd like to discuss the financial audit first. So this is an audit of the fund in particular, and it is giving the details as far as what revenues were received during the year and then what expenditures occurred during the year. We have an opinion in this report as well, and it mirrors the opinion on the district report. So it's also an unmodified or a clean opinion, and the responsibilities of management and the audit are the same. There's some fewer paragraphs in here because this report does not include all of the elements that the district report has. It's not required to by the education code requirement. So if we're moving into page 3 of the report, you can see the activity of this fund in itself. And you can see, the activity as far as what's the balance with the cash and county. There's very limited other balance sheet items as far as receivables or payables. It is all related to the construction project, interest being earned by the county, and then whatever payments are due to vendors. Services were performed before June 30th, but the invoice was not submitted and not paid until after June 30th. So those are reflected as payable. Then the following page is the income statement. And what you'll notice on this page is that you'll see that the change in fund balance is a relatively large negative, but that's what's to be expected in this fund. You issue new bonds, you get a large revenue stream that comes in, and then you spend down those balances until you issue your next bond. So eventually, when your bond program ends, this fund will result in a 0 balance. So to see that that large negative there is what you should expect to see. It's nothing that should cause any undue concern. And the page after that is just a revenue or a budget to actual page to show what has been budgeted and then what the expenditures are for the year. And you will notice in the capital outlay area that the budget amount is relatively large in comparison to the actual expenditures. Again, that is normal for a capital project fund. Typically, the budget is for all the projects that are outstanding, not just the projects that will be worked on during that year. So that variance, again, is a normal variance that we would expect to see. Then following that report are notes. A lot of them are the same notes that are included in the district report, and we're just bringing in the ones that are pertinent to the fund itself. So it's not all of the notes, but the ones that apply to this financial statement. We also have reference to the government letter. Again, it's similar to what's in the district report. We have no internal control findings, therefore there's nothing included in this letter as far as any weaknesses or things that the district needs to rectify. And then the final page is to state that there are no current year findings and also there were no prior year findings. So very, very positive. And these two audits really go together. There's an overlap because the driver to both of these audits are the expense. And as you know, with the Prop 39 and the measure that was passed back in 2000, allowing the voting percentage to drop down to the lower percentage, came an oversight committee and then also the special audits that are being done. So in both cases, we really focus on the expenses. With the performance audit, in addition to the expenses, we're focusing on more qualitative characteristics. And so again, there are a number of ed code requirements that need to be implemented. The oversight committee, the makeup of that committee. So we look at that to make sure that that's appropriate. We look at the website, making sure it's up to date, minutes are posted. What else is on there? That your annual report is done, and that's available on your website as well. So those are some of the other things that we look at, and that is delineated more in this performance audit. So with that report, again, it's a clean opinion. It's a little bit different wording than what you see in a financial opinion, since we are talking about those qualitative aspects of the report. But again, we are saying that the district is complying in all material respects to those compliance requirements. The one item that I would like to bring to your attention, glasses can see the page number, is page 5. And it's the last bullet that talks about the amount of expenditures that we look at for the bond project. So within the bond project, we looked at 30.8 million of expenditures, and total expenditures for the fund were 37.5 million. So we tested 82% of the expenditures in that fund. Our sample, if I remember correctly, was over 60 items that we looked at as far as payments out to vendors, and ensured that all of those were correct. The other area that we focus on are salaries, and making sure that any salaries that are charged to the fund are for individuals that are working specifically on bond projects. And as has been consistent over the years, that is always done appropriately as well. So our opinion on this report is clean, and also the final pages state that we have no findings in the current year and there were none in the prior year either.
Members of the board, questions at this time?
I have a question.
Chair recognizes
few.
Trustee Zia.
Thank you. So on the financial, I believe, got so many reports here. The financial audit on page 4, you list about $6.8 million approximately of other expenses and services. What are those other expenses and services? What does
I'm
other
sorry,
entail?
Page 3 or page
Page 4.
4?
Okay.
Grab the final one. Other expenses, those are things that are charged more professional services, so it's going to be the architect fees, inspection fees, are what's going to be in that category.
Okay, so let me just make sure I understand. As of fiscal year ending in June 30th, 2014, our expenses and services for professional services is $6.8 million. Is that correct?
I wouldn't say that total is there, but that's primarily what's going to be in there. That's the 5,000 object code.
I
So
don't
in-
see object codes here, but it's just.
Right. In the internal accounting, there are items that are charged to the 5,000. So it is other things, utilities are in there and things of that nature. But the large, what makes it the lion's share is probably architect fees and inspection fees. But again, the detail I didn't commit to memory, so that would be something the district would have in their ledgers that they could provide.